On occasion, you'll get the real fluffy ponytail, and she's going to tell you that she's there for some balayage. And you're going to say, wow, okay. Then you're going to ask her to take her hair down or ask her permission to take her hair down. And this is what you're going to look at. And she's going to tell you how she wants it highlighted, and she wants to see some variation in there, and how she's got some grays coming in. She just wants to blend them. But she loves her curl, and she wears it curly 90% of the time. Ooh, you have got your work cut out for you, because that's what you got. First thing you're going to do is you are going to take her to the sink and find out what's really going on with that hair. You're going to clarify her. You're going to get all that silicone buildup. You're going to get all that stuff out. After you wash her, you're going to see more how this curl falls. This was actually done with a protein treatment. And then you're going to see really what Erica has. Much nicer than the shrub that you were looking at before. You can actually see a wave pattern. You can see how it comes out of the head. You can ask her how she normally wears it, because 90% of the time she wears it curly when it's not on the pom-pom on top of her head. This is what you're going to see, and this is really going to be the basis of your work. And just to let you know, that was with a protein treatment. This one was without. So sometimes you really need to prep the hair, give it some serious hydration or protein, whatever you believe that particular client needs, to get the head ready. Balayage is always done with the final style. You want to make sure that you're applying it exactly the way the style and the hair is going to fall. And we're going to do two different techniques on her. We're going to start with a J technique, which actually is going to work with these individual curls. We're going to look and find them. We're going to hunt them out, because that's where we want to put the highlight in those particular curls so that they fall with the curl. So we're going to find each and every little curl that we want. Your sectioning is going to be in triangle sections, so point being at the top. And it's going to be 1.5 inches long, give or take, because we're going to work with her wave pattern. If she were straight, I would tell you 1.5 inches. If she's curly, you're going to have to find where her curl pattern is and work within that. And you're going to keep them about 1 inch apart from each other. You want to give some good spacing, but you also want to work with the shape of the face. And of course, the cut should work with the shape of the face as well. I'm going to subdivide her head very carefully, and we're going to do our C technique in here and our J technique above it, because balayages always work from the bottom up. You can use a metal tail comb, you can use a regular rat tail comb. I find that it'll give you much cleaner lines. Now, we don't really want to disrupt her curl. And for this particular client, I'm going to work from behind the ear. She really doesn't have an occipital, but I would say you're going to aim for slightly above the occipital. I want to very neatly take that up, and I'm going to clamp underneath by the base area. Off to the side. Don't really want to twist it a lot. Don't want to disrupt it a lot. The point of these triangles is that they are going to be longer than they are wider. And the cool thing about a triangle is because as the hair moves, it creates more flare. This particular technique is going to leave more color on more lightness on the ends, less.
Can't see any of that.
Okay. It is going to leave more lightness on the ends, and it's going to vary up the mid shaft, and there will be no color at the base. So when it moves, you're going to have varying lightness up and down the hair shaft, but with none at the base. Okay, I'm going to section her out a little bit. And I don't always do this when I'm working. A lot of times I look at the way the hair falls, and because she's curly, we're trying to work within the curls. Now if we made her base much lighter, it's going to be more invisible. And you want this to really be a highlight technique. Okay, so I have 4 sections. You can see pretty much we did slightly behind the ear, but not at the hairline. We did not do directly at the hairline. We're leaving that section natural so that when she goes to pull it back or does that crazy pom-pom on top of her head, she doesn't have a regrowth line. This is really just to highlight and give a sun-kissed blended effect. She has naturally curly hair. We don't want it to be highlighted all over. So I took 4 sections out. They are V sections with the curl. Triangle at the top, wider at the base. They are a 1/2 inch wide, very narrow, longer than they are wider. You definitely want to have it 2 times longer than your width. Everybody uses a different board. Some of them super long, the longer the hair. Some are much thicker than others. I mean, you've got some various densities of boards, various lengths. Some have handles, some do not. Some are cut out so you can lean into the head. I don't quite get that one because God forbid my client moves her head. Bye-bye work. I prefer what's called a beveled edge, so you can get very close to the scalp. Also, your contours, because the head is actually a rounded shape. So this fits a lot better than this. Now, some people like these that has a contour. You can use the contour edge, or you can use the straight edge if you're putting your foils on your board and then in. These are actually called rakes. If you notice, there's a difference in the format of the teeth. These are much more cone shaped. You're gonna build up product down here and show you how to use these. This will build up product. They are not just to be pulled out, they're to be pulled up. It helps distribute your product, especially if you're working with color, a lot better without getting an immense amount of product on your hair. Okay, however, we are going to be using a comb. This is how this technique is done. And I'm going to be using a clay bleach. The object of a clay is the smoothness. Remember, you do have to apply them a little heavy because they do dry out on the exterior while they're still moist and developing and processing on the interior. Freedom Blonde by Kuhn, which is a kaolin clay and wheat based product for this particular technique. Important note, the manufacturer recommends that you have to use the Freedom Bond developer with this product. They have 10, 20, 30, and 40 volume. When a manufacturer tells you to use a specific developer with a specific product, there's a reason for that. They put a lot of money, time, and research and development. They're not telling you that just because they want you to buy this developer. They're telling you that these 2 products, it's a positive and a positive, which will get you the correct result. The mixing ratio for this particular product is 1 to 1.5, which means 1 part powder to 1.5 of developer. I want it a little thick, but not quite this thick. Right, it looks kind of like spackle. It's a good analogy. And you want it to be a little spackle-ish, but that's a little too spackle-ish for me. So I'm going to add just a touch more developer. Don't go crazy. And that just moved it a little better. There we go. Okay, one of the things you're gonna do is load up your comb. And by load it up, you are actually going to paint. Now, if you have a deep bowl, you can actually scoop this in. And one of the things about loading it up is you'll see that there's not an excessive amount. There's product on both sides. Okay, and I'd like to see a little more on that tip too. Okay, you want your product all the way through. Okay, so it's fully loaded, but not oozing out left or right. We're going to go in at an angle. Angle, top. So you're making another triangle within the hair. You can move it here. You can move it here. Okay? And what we're going to do is you are going to place it into the hair and start. You don't want to push your teeth all the way into it. You are just placing it. And this is where lightness of touch is going to really be important, because you are going to place it and you are going to literally sweep and comb. I call it a C technique because you are going to go in and make a C. You are going to go in and make a C. Okay, unloading most of your product on your ends. You don't want to put all your product up at the top. You start, and as you comb, you distribute it. Okay? Place. Now you're holding your hair. You're distributing your product, distributing your product, distributing. Okay, one of the most important things is never, ever, ever let your hair slap, which is hit down under there. If there's a piece that you want to see moved, just take your teeth, move it a little more. On the end, you can apply a little bit more and gently place it down. Okay, we're on to our next section. Okay, if you know you're doing a lot of these, you can just make a larger bowl and dip in. Just make sure you wipe off evenly on the sides. The longer the hair, the more you're going to have to apply on the length of your comb. Make sure we're heavier here. As you can imagine, you can already see this is making a really nice little curl pattern here. So she's going to have a great little blonde curl here. Yeah, actually for videoing, that made a little harder result there. That made a little harder result. I was too busy looking at it. Okay. Too busy looking at it. Well, I want to look at my work because I want to make sure that my comb is going through at a minimal rate. You don't want to have your comb go all the way. You're not pushing your teeth all the way through. Because what you'll do is you'll unload all your product too quick. You want to sweep it on. And if you notice, in properly sweeping it on, the other side has no product. Okay, so you sweep it on. Okay, now if you see an area like that, you can go through and just lightly move it. But I want my ends a little heavier, so I can go back and just work some product on my ends. Because I think that's going to be a great curl. You could see when this lightens how the curls are going to fall. Actually, it's okay if it touches the bleach because it's a clay bleach. I'm not pushing it on it. I am not combing it on it. Okay? Most of your hair will be placed over it because I want to see how this is all going to fall. Now let's look at her. She's got a very low hairline. So I would like to put some more blonde in here so we can minimize some of the depth on this hairline. Let's get some of these pieces in the top. That's a gorgeous curl. So we're going to go in just for some of these really great curls. That's a great one. Okay, I definitely want to get something in the front, see if I can minimize some of this. Now, granted, she was synthetically made, but manufacturers study natural wave patterns and hair patterns in order to help us work on clients. So I am going to take this one, definitely. Okay, these are two separate curls. This is one curl. This is another one, great. Like her. Let's break that down. I've got this one, because that's going to fall right here. And keep remembering how this is all going to fall. I am trying to stay in the format of a triangle section, but I really have to respect too the curl. So you can make a triangle section out of the curl, do so. Don't go crazy, but highlighting the curl is more important than the actual section because we're still going to work at that top. And with curly hair, the density of the curl hides some of the effects that's going to happen at the top. She wants more of a sun-kissed effect. This particular client doesn't want to look ombre. She doesn't want to be all over blonde. So I am literally picking out pieces that are just going to blend in with her curls. And what I'm looking for is about every 3 inches away. I'm kind of getting a pattern. These are already lightening. Okay, so this piece, this and this are going to blend with this and this. So it's going to have more of a sun-kissed effect in its curls. Okay, and what I am going to do back here is I'm going to show you more of a textbook J technique. If you get bleach or products on your comb, just take a second, take a towel, wipe it off. Okay, and this I'm going to show you a little more, because we're in the back, of the actual J technique in more of a textbook form than in a curly form. It is going to be 1.5 inches in length, and it is going to be a 1/2 inch wide. It is a triangle, and we have a real point up at the top, much wider at the base. You get out of there. Okay, and this technique I always called a hatchet technique. And you'll find out why in just a second.
It's a hatchet J.
It is a hatchet J. It is a hatchet technique. Because everyone wants to just kind of place it. Okay, the key to the J technique, and why I call it a J, is because you are going to go down. Okay, you're going to go down with the tip. Just the tip down. Down, and you are going to make a J. So you're going to involve some of the C motion, but you go down, angle, and finish. So that you can see this a little bit better.
And again, you're not going into the hair.
Nope. Literally, I can place this and bounce it off the top of it. Down, angle, distributing, very heavy on the ends. You can always go back and add some more if you want. But here's the beauty. This is why it looks so cool in curls. There's nothing on the other side. And only when I decide to take it all the way through the ends will you see anything on the ends. Okay, allow that curl pattern to come back up and place.
What's the difference between a J and a C now?
A J actually will give you, you will have highlight right from the very top. You will actually have a highlighted piece that goes from the scalp to the ends, but underneath it, you have an angle of hair that is virgin. So you will have very minute, full highlighted pieces, which is why I like to use it on the top, just shimmers of highlighted pieces from the roots. So they don't have to worry about a heavy regrowth line, but it does give them more of from the scalp shimmered out, heavy on the ends. There are two different techniques that can be used individually. On straight hair, you might want to apply the C technique all over and have a little bit more of that regrowth look. Or shadow roots. Okay, this, because I don't have an exact point because I'm working with the curl, this is actually, this bleach is very nice. This is my first time doing this with it, so it's an FYI. Okay, in, down, sweep. Just doing the same thing all the way around the head. That's it. So at this point, I just need to be quick because she's developing. I went through and just found curls that I really liked. I like accentuating some of the curls by her face. We went through and did just a few lighter sections in this widow's peak area. And you could see how underneath here are your C sections, and we've connected the J's to some of the C's so that it gets a nice flow to it. We didn't highlight from the regrowth to the ends, so there are shimmers, so it's not a stripe. There's actually areas where there's no bleach on it. So as it moves, you're gonna see different patterns throughout the curl. And we're gonna let her process for 30 minutes. Okay, this is the outcome of Erica. She's our curly C and J model. And all we did was wash her. I used a shampoo that's designed to neutralize persulfates. It's specifically for after bleaching. What it does is it stops the action of the persulfates from processing. But I'm just going to give you a little spin here and you could see for yourself what's going on with Amanda. Or, I'm sorry, what's going on with Erica? This is Erica.
I think she's got a label on.
Yeah. Just to show you, we went heavier in the front. But you could see in through here how it's inside the curl. Not, and there it is. Let's take these. So you don't have a heavy regrowth line or a heavy line from the scalp. It's much lighter, it's inside the curl. Let's go to our C's in the back. And this is where it's much heavier, but you could see we don't have it at the base. It's at an angle, so when it falls, you have some at the top, but none at the base. Okay, and now I'm just going to run my fingers through her. Let's see how it distributes with the curls. There is no toner on her, so we let this come up to its remaining pigment, which in her case is copper gold, so an orange gold. Okay, and the best way to break up curls, just work with your hands. Now, we could put a toner on this if we decided to, or not. Could let it go, whichever your client wanted. Add a little bit of interest by the face, but nothing crazy. Because once again, if she pulls it back, she doesn't look like a zebra. Same here. When she decides to come in with that pom-pom, she doesn't look like a zebra. She's got some color in there, but nothing crazy. So that just gives her some interest without a big commitment in curly hair. Because remember, bleach will affect the curl pattern on curly girls. It will soften and break down the curl because you're breaking down the bonds. So remember, with curly girls, you don't want to take them super light because they are going to change and lose some of their curl pattern. You can see
Nice.
at the base,
That looks great there.
but
Yeah.
nothing crazy. You can see the highlight there, and then none down here. These are the J's. J's are at the top. C's are all underneath. They're much heavier. C's are always heavier at the ends. As a collection, because of the density of her curls, she's much denser back here, and she wanted still to see some. The C's just gave her some heavier sections of it without being too much. Remember, balayage is not just one thing. It is techniques, and it's your toolbox. You can combine different techniques in the same head to get multiple effects, which really customizes that color for your client, but it also addresses different issues. Where it's very dense, and at the top you're really never going to see a J technique down here. But you can see a C, and you could see a V or a W, but you couldn't see a J the same way that you would see a J in through the top.